Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today we're going to talk about my top 10 books of 2020. Had to narrow it down big time, but I did it. I'm pretty happy with this list. I'm confident in my number one and number two, and then everything else just kind of falls below those two, but I definitely have a top two for sure, and I have a number one. So the rest of them are not in any particular order, but yeah. Oh man, I read some good books this year, you guys. So we are just gonna count down from 10 to 1. Like I said, the top two are definite. Like those are where they belong. Everything else is just below. Okay, so I'm gonna start at the beginning of this list here. So for number 10, I'm gonna say the Duke and I series by Tessa Dare, which includes 3 books. The first one is The Duchess Deal. Second one is The Governess Game, which was my favorite. And the third is The Wallflower Wager. And book number 4 is coming out in February, and I'm so excited. These are historical romances, and they are fantastic. They are just so funny, and you swoon a little bit, but the humor is so on point. The humor is so modern, even though this is set in historical times. But it's just, the banter is perfection. I loved every second of all 3 of these books. I really did. And I can't wait for number 4. They were a huge surprise on how much I loved them. They are just juicy, good fun. And they're in my top 10. For number 9, I'm going to say Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Kane. This is the first book in the Stillhouse Lake series. I believe it is a 5-book series. And I read the first one finally. This one follows a woman who discovers that her husband is a serial killer, and she had no idea. And he was doing these things in their garage. And then she finds that out. He's arrested. Well, she finds out because he got arrested. And she is now on the run with her kids because she's obviously being blamed by people in everywhere. And so she is trying to keep herself and her children safe. And yeah, it was very good. It was very dark. It went a lot darker than I was expecting. It was very gruesome in parts, and man, so that's all I'm going to say. If you haven't read it and you like things, I would say kind of borderlining on not quite as bad as Karen Slaughter, but like up there, you know what I mean? I would definitely recommend that one for sure. And I'm excited to read the rest of the series as well. That's the only one from the series I read, but I do own the rest of the series, so I'm ready to move on to those as well. Okay, so for number 8, I'm going to say Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. This is actually book number 5 in her Throne of Glass series. So it's in the middle of a series, but oh my gosh, this book was my favorite of the series so far. I still need to read the last one, but this book was non-stop action, and I could not get enough of it. It was just everybody coming together, and I was breathless at parts. I was just like, what is happening? There was a character that really redeemed herself for me in this book. That it's a character that I've never liked throughout the entire series so far, but in this one, I loved her. So I'm fully on her team now, which is really, I loved that was something that was able to happen. And yeah, it was great. It was so good. And I had a book hangover from that one. Number 7, I'm going to say Home Before Dark by Riley Sagar. Oh man, this book creeped me out, kept me guessing the entire time. And then at the end, I was like getting whiplash from all the twists and turns it was taking. It was just like, this way, no, we're going to go this way. Now we're going to go this way. And it was just like, what? So the ending was fantastic. And I spent the whole time trying to figure this thing out, and I could not figure it out. And when I thought I had it figured out, I didn't have it figured out. And I loved it. I love books that do that to you. And he also creeped me out to the point where I could not read it at night. I tried at one point and I said, nope, I can't do this. I had to close it and pick up something else because it scared me. And yeah, it was, oh man, it was really good. Like, I loved that book. Six, I'm going to say Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, which was a huge surprise to me. I thought that this was just going to be, a cutesy little romance. It's a male-male romance set in London, and okay, this will be fun. I was obsessed with it. I loved every single word of this book. The romance was the most adorable thing. How completely opposite the two characters were was the most adorable thing. And I loved it. I highly, highly recommend the audiobook. The narrator was fantastic, and just all of the cute little nervous sentences that were in there, and just like, oh gosh, it was just perfect. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Number 5, I am going to say The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I just finished this book and it was beautiful. And I'm so happy because I was nervous about it. Because, she wrote The Night Circus, which is one of like top 10 books for me of all time. And so I was nervous about this one because it's another book coming out. It has been more than a decade, I think, since she had written The Night Circus. So I was a little bit nervous. I had no reason to be. It was beautiful. It's definitely a book I will revisit. Definitely, I will reread this book. And it's definitely a book that you can just lose yourself in very easily. And the way that she describes things is so perfect that you just easily see everything going on around you. And it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense at the same time. It's fantastic. So very happy about that. But yeah, so made it in my top 10 right at the end. Number 4, Us Against You by Frederick Bachman, which is the follow-up to Beartown, which is top 10 for me, 100%. And this one was just as good. It really was. It follows more of the characters from the book, not the main storyline, although it is mentioned quite a bit in the follow-up. But we get a lot of Benji, and I loved Benji. He's such a great character, and you really see him go through some stuff. And again, just full of amazing quotes, and his writing is just so fantastic that I loved it. Number 3 is Beach Read by Emily Henry. Adult contemporary romance. I lived for every minute of this book. I loved it so much. It was another surprise. Again, just the banter between these two characters was so perfect, and it had me laughing out loud. I was cheering for them the entire time. It follows 2 authors who it ends up kind of being like an enemies to lovers type thing. And it was great. But seriously, the banter, I still think about it. Like, I still think about the things that they say back and forth to each other. It was just great. And I loved it. Okay. Top two. Okay. Number 2, The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Oh, this book. I still think about this book. And I read this very early in the year, and I still think about it. It is haunting. It really, because it's a ghost story, actually. It's literally about a haunted motel and a woman who is trying to figure out what happened to her aunt who went missing from this hotel decades ago. Oh man, this is another one I could not read at night. I couldn't. I remember hitting a part when I was reading at night. It was on my Kindle. I was in bed, the lights were out, and I hit a part and I was like, nope, I can't. It scared the crap out of me. In the dark, can't do that. And yeah, I had to put it down. I could not read another page. I was getting way too freaked out. And man, it was so good. It keeps you on your toes. And yeah, it was great. And my number 1 book of 2020, my most favoriteest book of 2020 is The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. This book, I gave it a hug. When I finished it, I put it to my bosom and I hugged it. And I thanked it for being what it was. It was so good. So this book is actually a time travel book, which is not something I normally gravitate towards, but it was less sciencey than, it didn't feel like a science fiction book, even though I guess it could be kind of considered that. I would say it's more like a science fiction contemporary type thing, but it follows a woman who is pregnant. It's in the 1970s. Her husband has gone to Vietnam. She finds out that their baby is supposed to be born with a very rare genetic disorder to the point where it may not survive. And she's devastated, obviously. And then her brother-in-law approaches her and says, so, hey, I'm actually from the future. And I know for a fact that there are medical advances that will help your baby have a very, very high chance of surviving this. And she was like, and you're crazy, get away from me. But she decides to take him up on his offer, and she travels to the year, I think she goes to 2000. I want to say 2000 or 2001. I think it's 2000. And starts getting medical treatment. The plan is for her to go get this medical treatment, make sure her baby's okay, and then travel back and then give birth to the baby. Or, no, I think the plan was for her to have the baby there and then bring the baby back. I can't remember exactly. But of course, things go wrong. Of course, there's holdups. Of course, it's medical stuff. So there's, twists and turns and all the things. And so you start to question, is she going to get back? And should she go back? And there's so many things. And then I don't want to give too much away, but there was one point that I just went, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is happening right now. It was fantastic, you guys. I would say it's like science fiction-y, the same way that Outlander is science fiction-y. Not really. There is a time travel aspect, and it is explained a lot in The Dream Daughter about how they figured all this out and how it's able to happen and blah, blah, blah. But obviously it's more of a contemporary than that. So, but a strong, high recommend. I want to put this book in everybody's hands. I loved it so much. And I still to this day cannot stop thinking about that book. Like, it just had a big impact on me. So that is my number one book of the year. Okay, guys, as hard as it was, that's my top 10 list. And yeah, so let me know yours down below. Let me know what some of your favorite books were this year. Do you have a number one favorite? Do you have a top 3? That could be, any one of them could be number 1. Let me know what your favorites were this year. Please let me know that. I would love to know. And I'm excited to gear up for 2021 and see what my favorite books are going to be for this year. I'm excited about it. All right. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.